This picture...
What's the best human support class? Oh my god!
This episode was sponsored by Skillshare.
Okay, we gotta watch this one.
Humans have the ability to party up with players from other factions. This isn't a unique ability. Plenty of builds can execute powerful team combos that benefit both players, but humans have by far the most options when it comes to choosing which support class they want to enlist in their party. I've already made a video discussing the two most popular choices, cats and dogs, but I think it's worth giving the more niche support classes a video of their own. I'm going to split them into three categories: mounts, battle summons, and companions. Mounts are characters that players can combine with to form a more powerful battle unit. The most popular example of this is the horse, and for good reason. Horses have high base power and mobility, and also have high enough stamina regeneration to be useful for fast traveling. In combat, horses can deal high burst damage using their kick move, which is powerful enough to one-shot midweight players. Now, one thing about mounts is that in order for them to work, they have to have spec into the social abilities, but they also need an intelligence level that's a good deal lower than the human player in order for them to gain full control. Horses happen to fit this criteria perfectly. Humans have tried allying themselves with other similar builds, with a lot less success. Anyway, it's important to know that horses aren't the perfect mount. Their most obvious flaw is their extremely low HP. Most animals can recover from slight injuries, but horses will actually get a game over if one of their legs gets broken. So if low mount HP isn't your thing, I would actually recommend the elephant instead. Elephants are the tankiest land build in the entire game, even being able to shrug off hits from a charging rhinoceros. Of course, opting for the elephant is a huge sacrifice in terms of mobility. Not only are they much slower, but elephants also don't have access to the move jump, meaning they get hard countered by any obstacles.
Like, you gotta...
These mounts are by far the most powerful, but if you need to fast travel in a certain...
Wait, they're also one of the smarter builds, so you literally have to torture them to make sure that they comply. You have to lower their... You have to literally fucking... You have to go to a specific vendor that will literally lower the intelligence level so they increase the obedience stats straight up. It's like a really unique, it's a really unique mount in that way.
Server that has a special environmental damage effect, like let's say the Arctic or the desert, you'll need a mount that can resist those effects. For the desert,
I guess he missed that part. He didn't mention it, but yeah, no, you literally, yeah, you have to respec. You have to take him to a respec vendor. Otherwise it doesn't work. Also, they're very rare too. They're super rare to begin with.
Your best option is the camel. Camels have heat resistance, don't incur the blindness debuff from sandstorms, and can store reserve stamina using their hump ability. They also have one more bonus.
Camel also OP faith build for when you sacrifice a camel in Turkey or in Muslim countries. It gives you hella fucking faith boost. I'm sure he doesn't know about that, but that's a real thing for sure. Like sheep and lamb and that sort of, like, those sorts of animals, they give you, most people think that like they give you the biggest faith boost, but the reality is it's a camel.
Bonus ability related to their upkeep cost. Now, as the human player, it's your job to make sure that the support player isn't wasting their time working for you and getting no XP in return.
I love this.
So you have to provide that XP,
so much.
And different builds require different forms. Horses are pretty simple. They can feed on grass or grain basically anywhere, and so they have a relatively low upkeep cost. Elephants, on the other hand, require massive amounts of food to maintain, so they're really impractical doubles partners, as they'll either need to spend most of their time foraging, or require you to split most of your best loot with them. Getting back to camels, they have the same relative ease of upkeep that horses do, but with the added benefit of being highly resistant to the defense mechanisms of cacti. Cacti are worth a ton of XP if you can get past their powerful defense mechanisms. Camels can straight up ignore the damage from cacti, so this is a huge advantage if you're trying to traverse desert servers, where cacti may be the only loot available. Camels are also no slouch when it comes to combat, being more than capable of fending off attacks from midweight characters like dogs and rams, due both to their height advantage and their surprisingly powerful bite attack. All three of these builds make awesome additions to your party, greatly increasing the survivability and defensive capability of your group. But sometimes it's not survivability that's the problem. Sometimes human mains need another player to cover their bad matchups. which, as covered in my video Are Humans OP, tend to be the builds that are small and evasive, difficult to hit even with projectiles, and able to not only outspeed them, but also outmaneuver them by burrowing or perching in trees.
This is so bad.
This is where they can really benefit from the second category of support class, what I call battle summons. Battle summons are players that...
Also, mounts. Some mounts do have OP swatting capabilities, though. Like, again, I'm sure he covers it in other videos, but like a horse, for example, or an elephant, tail-wise, they have incredible defenses, especially when it comes to projectiles, small projectiles. They're very good. It absolutely boosts your defense stat. Something that most people don't even think about.
Humans can party up with in order to deal damage on targets they normally struggle to do so against. This type of support is typically only useful on offense, so if you're trying to defend an objective, like say a field containing loot that you're growing, you might want to opt for a different comp. Perhaps the best example of this is the raptor. Since humans don't have the ability flying or reach, it's essential that they party up with a raptor to best deal with other flyers. Of course, because birds have hollow bones, it'd be pretty irresponsible for a human to command their bird teammate to attack any large target that could counterattack with blunt force. But then again, humans generally don't need help in that matchup. Perhaps one of the most effective team combos in the game consists of the human, the dog, and the raptor. The dog can use their high-level smell abilities to find players that are using stealth. And then when they try to flee, the raptor can use their high damage and high accuracy pounce strike to score the finishing blow. One thing birds can't do though is reach players that are hiding underground, and this is where the ferret battle summon comes in. The ferret matchup against burrowing builds like rabbits, rodents, and snakes is hugely favored, and humans can use this to their advantage since they, like birds, don't have any immediate counterplay options when their opponents burrow where they can't reach. This tech was first pioneered by human mains on the Egyptian server during the Bronze Age. Okay, so the last type of support is what I'll call the companion type. And this is where the definition of support begins to kind of fall apart because humans can party up with basically anyone else and at least get a slight morale boost. There are plenty of builds that make great companions, but there are a few that I'd recommend avoiding. I'm going to break these down into two categories. The first is builds which humans can't effectively support, and the second is builds which curse their party members.
Dude, okay, first of all, you're saying being a human main is OP. Like, you're so lucky. Just like, much like a Rust server, we get random spawn points and random selection. Like, we don't have any, our properties are totally up to, our properties are totally randomized, and the human is literally the most OP character. So be happy that you were spawned as a human, rather than, I don't know, like fucking a slug or something. Male human main is mega OP. Yeah, and then there's also the perk. Yeah. Yeah. Cis, hetero, white, male human main is literally just like, it's imbalanced. And people have tried to nerf it, and it just does not happen. Like, there's constantly, the whiteness perk gives you an insane fucking boost. But the only way to match up with the male, the only way to match up the same level of power that the white cisgender male human has, which is definitely the most OP, and there is like no way to fucking nerf it, is a skill that very specific white cisgender female humans also have, and that's called the Karen perk. The sense of entitlement that you get in every single altercation and interaction is unfathomable and immediately adds like 10 strength, 10 defense. It's crazy. Like, in some instances, you're literally doubling your stats. You know what I mean? Like, these are doubling your base stats. It's wild. It is a wild fucking counter. 100 aggression, yeah.
Members with a charisma debuff. For the first group, I want to highlight two builds. The first is the octopus. Many players assume that due to their high intelligence stat, octopi would make great party members. But the main thing to remember is that in a companionship, the human player is also the moral support role for their non-human counterpart. The higher the intelligence level of your support player, the more attention they require. And as discussed in other videos, cephalopods are among the top intelligence builds in the game. The issue here is that because octopi and humans can't really cross over into each other's natural servers, there aren't many good options for either of them to support the other. And as a result, octopus players often try to terminate the relationship and escape the base that humans provide for them. But unfortunately, this also ends up terminating their current playthrough since they lack the lungs ability.
I would never, ever have an octopus as a... It's actually the birth control perk. Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, listen, the cisgender white female character build like recently had a big boost over the other. Like recently had like a big boost in only like the past couple decades. Hopefully, we're still trying to add a nerf to racism. Literally every server is suffering from it. Eventually, we will be able to nerf it so that we equalize all the human builds across the board.
The next build on our list also has the same issue of having too high of an intelligence stat for its own good. Parrots don't have the same issue of being unable to cross over into the human server, but they have an even higher intelligence stat than octopi, and since they're a highly social build, they require even more attention and support than octopi, actually being comparable to a low-level human player. While they do have a pretty high
never mind, that's like my Twitch chat.
Morale boost potential, nearly on the same level as cats, they require so much attention that humans can't effectively function as their teammates unless their skill tree has allowed them to work from home. Admittedly, this build does have an above-average presence in the high scores, but I chalk that up to popularity bias. Okay, now for the second category. It's an unfortunate fact of reality that the stat bonuses that a teammate gives you aren't always desirable, and there are many which actually incur negative stat changes, especially to charisma. Human players who party up with arthropods and certain reptiles often experience this, mostly because arthropods and snakes have a high intimidation level that runs completely contrary to any charisma skills that the human player attempts to use. While this can work really well for deterring other players in most biomes, in the city biome where most human mains play, pretty much every important quest and achievement will be harder if you have low charisma and high intimidation. So in my opinion, the downsides really outweigh the potential upsides. I know I didn't cover every potential support class.
Spoken like a dude. Yo, was that me or... He felt like he was sad explaining that part. Like, what? This was really funny and good and funny. Plus, he follows you, Hasan. What is this? It feels like he spoken like a dude who owns fucking, arachnids. I feel like.
Class? So if you have experience with one of the ones that I left out, I encourage you to leave a comment detailing what you think their pros and cons are. At the end of the day, I have yet to see any good arguments for any support rivaling the incredible usefulness of the dog, a topic I covered in this video here.
Straight up. Oh, dude, I love this guy. I mean, he's got zero fucking falsehoods stated. Oh, the cat dog one's gonna be great.
Dogs are also the only teammates that actually give humans a charisma bonus.
Actually, I think as far as like companion builds goes, there's a really sleeper hit that he didn't mention, which is the monkey. Very, very high in intelligence, so incredibly difficult to fucking tame. Incredibly difficult to tame. But, and they can be very violent altogether. But with proper mount maintenance, proper upkeep, you could have perhaps one of the greatest companions of all time.
Which basically elevates them to god tier on the support tier list.
Yeah. If you give, especially because like if you give the monkey the clothing item, they increase charisma even more. They add on top of you. Like it stacks your charisma if you give the monkey cool outfits to wear. Okay? And not only that, but you can teach the monkey certain skills like theft. Okay? And if you really beef up its sneak stats, the monkey can literally be an income driver for you. When you're out of gold, you can literally go to the monkey and the monkey will give you gold. Yeah. And one of the very few companions that can literally use the tools perk, which is pretty fucking OP, I say. But again, high risk, high reward. That's what it is. That's the name of the game. I love this. This is my favorite type of video now. Monkey clothing items are cash shop only though. That's true. Yeah, no, Monkey's a bit pay to win for sure. Like it's not for novice builds. Like if you don't know what you're doing, I highly recommend staying away from the monkey build. Like stick with the dog one because it's the most bang for your buck, right? Like you are never gonna get anything as good as whatever you get from the dog build.